Hello, everyone. Nice to see many of you and a lot of familiar names. I'm Michael Geffel, Research Director of Portland Botanical Gardens and a landscape architect doing business as Land Lab, and excited to share some updates. I know many of you have already seen this presentation before. It's also available on our website. We presented over seven occasions through DEQ hosted meetings over the last year, and then at many different community meetings, neighborhood association meetings, and direct meetings. So this is very much a high-level overview. You can see more info on our website, but we are intending to purchase the upland portion of the McCormick and Baxter Superfund site to establish a botanical garden. The two main collections are the Traverse Oregon and the Walk the World collections. These are both biogeographic collections, so organized around plant community and geographic origin. And then will also be used to support each education, research, and community-based stewardship goals. So the nonprofit's relatively new, relatively young. 2020 was when PBG received 501(c)(3) status. And a lot of the early years were about visioning and site search. And McCormick and Baxter was identified both because of its size, its waterfront location, and as well as its relative centrality. PBG has been really fortunate to be part of DEQ's led tribal engagement over the last year and a half, and we're also really excited to have identified several collaboration opportunities with federally recognized tribes. And we'll be developing that further in our tribal engagement plan. Um, we spent a lot of time understanding the Superfund remedy and the site history. It's a complex site, was a priority cleanup. It's also its own Superfund site separate from the Portland Harbor Superfund site. I'm going to just hold on this image for a little bit just to point out some of the complexities. So the Superfund site actually extends beyond the parcel. That parcel is shown in this dashed line that goes out to the harbor line. However, our prospective purchaser agreement is for the upland portion of the property. So that's from ordinary high water and back. So everything outside of that will remain Department of State land. All remedial infrastructure will be maintained and monitored by DEQ and EPA, although we will take on many obligations and responsibilities per the prospective purchaser agreement. Okay, next page. We're also really fortunate this site had a large habitat restoration planted by BES and DEQ following the remedy. We've been studying this a lot because this forms the initial collection. And the site is an urban heat island favoring oak, pine, and madrone savanna. So it's a great opportunity to study climate adapted species and native plants. Over the last 2 years, through our due diligence and engagement, we arrived at this conceptual master plan. This is still site planning. So this is really about locating the approximate areas where our program will land on the site based on a number of factors. But in general, just some key pieces to know. I have auto advance on, so it's kind of going quickly. Vehicular access is down Van Houten. There's the Willamette River Greenway that goes through a public green space. We have a visitor hall and arrival demonstration gardens along the UP campus, a research and education campus planned adjacent to Willamette Cove, and an event meadow and a sculpture garden planned in the interior with the Walking the World collections along the rail line. So the big update, I'm a little disappointed that Caleb and Michael stole my thunder here, but I'm happy to just pull out some notable terms from the DEQ prospective purchaser agreement. So we have 12 months to meet the financial terms from the PPA signing, and that was on the 19th. And this is a $3 million financial ability requirement. And so this has to be demonstrated 30 days prior to close. It can be a combination of liquid assets or loans or bona fide pledges. Um, and then there will be a 1.195 million compensation payment to DEQ at closing, and that's 50% of fair market value. And as Caleb mentioned, we anticipate the other 50% EPA will be asking. Um, then there's some general requirements that you would expect in a prospective purchaser agreement for a Superfund site that we're adhering to requirements. We're trying to protect the remedial infrastructure. We're maintaining perimeter fencing and site security to prevent activities that could impact the remedy. And we're conducting our own quarterly site monitoring and providing annual reports to DEQ. And then also all of our designs will be submitting drawings to DEQ for review and then as-built for completed construction. And then some notable terms that are also major significant public benefits, building and maintaining a 10-acre public greenway that includes the Willamette River Greenway Trail, public native plant collections, open gathering space, and river access. Creating and implementing a tribal engagement plan. Up till now, we have been working off of our existing community engagement plan and following DEQ's lead on tribal engagement in addition to doing our own direct outreach. And we'll also be updating our existing community engagement plan. These will both be submitted after closing. We'll be maintaining habitat improvements to the conserved riparian forest and augmenting the habitat on the upland portion of the site. And then we're developing and implementing both an integrated pest management plan and an invasive screening policy. So there's a lot more information at our website, and I invite you all to go take a look. We have an FAQ up there now, as well as more in-depth description of our conceptual master plan.